They're turning here, right?
People who look like me are the real Americans. Because if you think about it, if black people are African because their race evolved in Africa, and white people are European because their race evolved in Europe, you know, and yellow people are Asian because their race evolved in Asia, and that means people who look like me are American because our race evolved in America. Our race is native to this continent. Therefore, we as a unit are indigenous. Our race is native, right? We are the real Americans. Now, people will talk, they refer to the USA as just America in and of itself, but the whole thing's America, North and South. We're the real Americans. That's not like, I'm not trying to be like racially supremacist or like, this isn't hate speech. This is just me applying the same rules and terminology the way we do with all the other races and continents. That's just reality. And it should matter to you if you're someone who's Latino and you have mixed indigenous ancestry, because a lot of these people at the border, a lot of these people that are like refugees from all these horrible places in South America that have been ruined by like the USA and stuff, those are indigenous people, right? If you come from an immigrant family in the US from somewhere in Latin America, you got screwed over because you're indigenous. It's that, like, that's crazy. We're the real Americans that are being treated like outsiders, immigrants. And if you didn't understand that already, that's all I wanted to say to help you understand that.
Who are the real Americans? Okay, I think I know the answer. Thanks, guys. I attended my first powwow with Devin Kicknosway, and I had one question to ask Native people. What do you want Americans to know about Indigenous people?
Oh, that we're still here. We're not going nowhere.
We're real. We're still here. We're going to be here forever.
We're the original human beings. We're the first peoples here.
That we're very important.
That we're still here.
You know what's funny? Everyone has kind of said that answer, we're still here.
Yeah.
Why are people saying that answer?
Well, I think it's because of media and, you know, society. We've always been genocided through our history.
They think that we became extinct.
We don't want to be treated no different than anybody, and to give us all the respect.
We need to learn not just your own history, but local history to truly have that respect.
We're still here, and you're not going to get rid of us.
All my relations.
But when I say that black people are the Indians, I'm telling the truth. We are the goddamn Indians. We've been the Indians the whole time. Your ass has been living under a false ass history.
There's a really strange phenomenon happening on social media where a very small group of African Americans are claiming to be the real Native Americans in the United States. And if that claim seems to be completely outlandish to you, you're not alone, because it's actually pseudo-archaeology, which is the practice of interpreting the past using methods, theories, or assumptions that directly contradict archaeological and scientific methods. These narratives often distort, misrepresent, or completely fabricate evidence to uphold their claims. Their arguments are all over the board and harmful to indigenous people because they are steeped in white supremacy and settler colonialism. Let's take a look at a few of their arguments and dismantle them. First, the Siberian argument. They like to make the argument that indigenous people are not truly indigenous because we are the descendants of the ancient people who migrated from Siberia 15 to 30,000 years ago. Let me put that in context for you. 15,000 years ago, the Ice Age was still happening. Woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers were still roaming the earth. The Sahara Desert was still green. And if you want to apply that argument to anyone else here, right now, let's take white Americans, for example. You would have to call them Middle Easterners because Europe at that time was under ice. The Siberian argument reeks of settler colonialism because it erases native history and works to destabilize native land rights and legal protections. Because if no one is truly indigenous, then there are no obligations, no treaties to uphold, no lands to return, and no justice to pursue. The next round of arguments they like to deploy revolves around the Dawes rules, which I hope they know is a colonial tool, not a sacred record to determine who is or who isn't native. The Dawes rolls were created to dismantle tribal nations and assimilate us into white settler society. People were categorized in racist and strategic ways. The rolls are useful for better understanding US policy, not for defining indigeneity. One of the more disturbing arguments that these folks like to make is that Native American children were sent to boarding schools to learn how to replace and be the real natives. Like you, it takes me a lot of mental gymnastics to even consider that as a reality, because the boarding school era is a very well documented and traumatic event that happened to Native kids who were forced to be at these schools to assimilate into white society. The bottom line is, we know the truth. Native people have been in relation to this land for at least 15,000 years and at most 30,000 years. And in that time, we developed thousands of ways to say Shamanastan Shuja Etchadini, Mother Earth and Father Sky. The bones of our ancestors are here and nowhere else in the world. That is why, to this day, Native people will always be at the front lines of environmental activism, protecting the water, defending the sacred, and demanding for land back. Because indigeneity doesn't come from governmental designations. It comes from here.
Unless you're one of the first Americans, a Native American, you came from someplace else. Somebody brought you. The Irish, who left behind a land of famine. The Germans, who fled persecution. The Scandinavians, who arrived eager to pioneer out west. The Polish, the Russians, the Italians, the Chinese, the Japanese, the West Indians, the huddled masses who came through Ellis Island on one coast and Angel Island on the other. All those folks, before they were us, they were them. And when each new wave of immigrants arrived, they faced resistance from those who were already here. They faced hardship. They faced ridicule. But over time, as they went about their daily lives, as they earned a living, as they raised a family, as they built a community, as their kids went to school here, they did their part to build a nation. They were the Einsteins and the Carnegies, but they were also the millions of women and men whose names history may not remember, but whose actions help make us who we are, who built this country hand by hand, brick by brick. They all came here knowing that what makes somebody an American is not just blood or birth, but allegiance to our founding principles and the faith in the idea that anyone from anywhere can write the next great chapter of our story. And that's still true today.
Oh my gosh, I could not figure out for the life of me, why would they lie and say we came off of, or our ancestors came off of slave ships? And I'm thinking, like, nobody would survive that journey. I've been seeing a bunch of theories on it, and but I don't listen to people, so I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm like, why would they just not say that we're Native Americans? Like, why would they not say we're Native Americans? Why would they say we came from Africa? So I'm sitting here and I'm like, because they didn't want us to ever have claims to this land. They didn't want us to ever have claims. So they destroyed as much evidence as they could, but they couldn't destroy the evidence fully. So what they did was they gave us some Native Americans, them $5 Indians. They gave us those Native Americans and said, that's what Native Americans look like. That's what Indians look like. And they gave them the reservations and the rights and the money every month, and they got all of that. And that our ancestors were never in Africa, y'all. We're Native Americans. We're not African American. We're Native Americans. They stole the land and they didn't want us to ever have rights or claim over the land. So they told us we were from Africa. Because if we're from Africa, we have no birthright to this land. But if we're Native Americans, we have birthright to the land. They are wicked as hell. I mean, wow. I've been doing so much research on my personal family tree, my family history, and I know that my matriarch, my mom's mom, I know that they're Indians. My grandfather's name, my she's my grandma, that's her dad. So my great grandfather, his name is Redbill, Indian. They talk about him often. My family, my other side of my family, my patriarchy, my mom's dad, they're all from New Orleans. My entire lineage is from New Orleans, and the other side is North Carolina. My ancestors are not African, they're Native American. And I've always thought this and said this, and it's a joke like, oh, we got Indian in us. Our grandparents were not lying. They were not lying. Why would they lie to us about that? Why would they just lie to us? Because if we were African, our grandparents would be proud of that. If they really felt we're not, they always told us we were Indian. We had Native American. Anyways, so, oh my God. So both sets of my ancestors were Native Americans. Nobody came from Africa, bro. They did not bring those people. I'm irritated.
There are people that somehow think that they are more American than other people. That is probably one of the craziest notions, and I'll give you an example of why. My mother's family were original settlers. They came over, they eventually made their way to North Carolina and to the Outer Banks, predominantly in Manteo. Probably 150 years later, my dad's family came over from Hungary and Poland, and they came to the United States, and they ended up in Buffalo. Both sets of my family, both sides, my mother and father, are immigrants. They both came from another country and gained citizenship in the United States. Everyone, unless you're indigenous, is an immigrant. Your family came from somewhere else. America is not, being an American is not a race. It is not a color. It's not an ethnicity. It's not a religion. It's simply immigration and citizenship. And that's what makes us Americans. And it is the beauty of America. It is the strength of America, is all of these different people coming from all over the world to our country. Right now, it's about 1 million come every year and eventually become citizens. Citizenship's about 1 million a year. And it'll be that same this year. And that is our strength. And the majority of the people that come are, the United States benefits because of them. We do better, they contribute to our society, and they help us even be better than we are now. And it is the backbone of our country. So this Thursday is Thanksgiving. You should be thankful that not only do you live in America, but that one day your family, just like everybody else, immigrated to the United States.
Since Native Americans are so smart, then why is it that you guys don't know that the term black was not always due to a darker skin tone? You would think that the oldest nation in the world would know where most of these terms come from, at least the English language. But here it is right here. It says that the word black can be traced back to the Proto-Indo-European origins. So Indo-European meaning you guys came from wherever you guys came from. But it says in Old English, black person meant fair, someone devoid of color, similar to the word blanc, which still means white or fair person. In Middle English, the word was spelled as B-L-A, whatever that is, C, same thing as the modern word black. Only at that time, around 1050 AD, it still meant fair skin or so-called white person. So at this point, you guys keep saying black. That does not bother us. Why? Because we're not black, we're not Negroes, we're not colored, we're not African Americans. We are American Indians. We are indigenous to this land. But since we want to talk about the etymology of labels, did y'all know that this is what it meant to be native? A person born in bondage? Oh, okay. A woman born in slavery? Oh, wow. Y'all didn't know that. So y'all are considering yourselves slaves by calling yourselves Native American? Did you know that? I bet you didn't.
Chad, y'all know Native Americans are like, they're the one who was on like America first.
So I think
They're like Native Americans. Like that. Like the actual Americans. If y'all don't know what Native American means, it means that they were here like on Earth first, you know?
Yes, these are the original Americans. Do they look like Trump? Of course, no, they don't, right? Do they look like Biden? No, they don't. These are the original natives. They are the owners of America. They own America. From them, Black Americans, you see, came. Some people can call them Indians, right? Whatever. But these are the owners of America. They are not the whiteys you think. These people are the indigenous people, right? They were in America even before the slave ships arrives. You understand it now, right? So that is it. Respect. Respect, respect. I know a lot of people are like, oh, what do they look like? But the thing is, a lot of Black Americans look like this. In as much as you know they could intermarry, not all of them look exactly the same, but you could see some of them having curly hair. You could see some of them really, really black, like dark in complexion. Yeah, this is who they are. So enough of saying, oh yeah, my brother, yeah, not my brother, my dear. And look for your brother in your continent, okay? So let me stop here. Kindly subscribe, like, share this video. I'll be back. See you guys.